Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Unorthodox Vegan. My name is Sean Gold and today we're doing episode 24. We're going to make some vegan ice cream. Now I know we've made some ice cream before that was using bananas and just meshing them up. We're going to actually use an ice cream maker. Yep, I went out and bought an ice cream maker, bought a used one, but I wanted to try it out, see how it works, and I've been having some fun with it. The ingredients for today are going to be quite simple. We're going to be using some cashews, about a cup and a quarter of raw cashews. We're going to be boiling those and heating them up and softening them up with a little bit of boiling water in a few minutes. We're going to use some cocoa. We're going to use a little bit to make, because I want to make chocolate ice cream. I got a couple of cans of coconut milk. Now I have two different cans. One's got a higher fat component or ratio than the other. One's about 16% and the other is about 11% fat. And what we want to have that higher fat content in order to make it a nice creamy ice cream. But the last time I made it was a little too creamy. I had two cans of really high fat and I just found it was a little bit too much. So we're going to try it with a little bit different today. A little bit of salt, some vanilla, if I didn't mention that already. We'll be doing that in a minute. Just going to be putting in some boiling water into the cashews, which I've just boiled. So let's put in 3 cups of boiling water into the cashews. I said I got about a cup and a quarter of cashews there. I'm going to let that sit for about 2 or 3 minutes just to soften up those cashews, get them already and organized and ready to go. And then we're going to just drain the water off, put them in the processor along with the coconut milk and vanilla and some chocolate cocoa powder and a little bit of salt. I'll be back in a minute. So I have soaked the cashews, put them into the food processor. So I got them ready to process. I am going to be adding in the coconut milk. I'm putting in 2 cans. That one is the lower, 16% coconut milk or 16% fat, and this one, as you can probably tell, is the one that's a little higher. Let's get that, and there we go. And this one is 21%. So I'm mixing these two together. By the way, I forgot to mention that I'm also putting in sugar. That was kind of obvious, and I was going, wait a second, I didn't mention the sugar. And yes, we're going to put in 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So that's going in as well. This is all going into the food processor. Food processor is to blend it together, chew up all of those almonds, get those things nice and get all the lumps out of it. And we'll be doing that. And then that's the process with that. And then we have to take away the heat of that, of the processing itself, because it takes, there's just, add some heat to it. So we want to cool that down. So we're going to put that into the freezer, let it cool down for about half an hour. And then we're going to put it into the ice cream maker, which is the bowl is sitting in the freezer. Going to do that, putting in a couple of tablespoons of cocoa. And let's see, I think it's 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. So putting in that. And about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This helps with the freezing aspect of it, so it gets a little bit, lasts a little longer. It freezes at a lower temperature. So that's what we want to do. So we've got all that stuff in there. Put the lid on this thing, and we're going to process that for. We're going to process that for a while until it gets nice and smooth. Make sure all of the chunks are taken out of the cashews themselves. Now, if you're going to add something other than the cocoa powder, if you want to add in some other stuff, you can do that later, like raisins or nuts or something like that, that you want to have chunky in the ice cream. You do that later. We do that towards the, when we're actually, after we've got it in the ice cream maker itself. And that's when you put those other pieces in. So we're just doing the basic liquid right now that we're going to turn into the ice cream. So I'm just going to keep processing this for a bit, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, I have processed that for a good 3 to 4 minutes. I'm going to pour that into a bowl and then put it into the freezer, let it cool down for a good half hour. I also brought out my ice cream maker just to show you that I do have it, and it's been in the freezer for a few days. It has to be in there for at least 24 hours, so whatever it takes. Anyway, I'm going to pour this into the bowl, put it in the freezer, let it cool off a little bit, and then bring it out and put it into the ice cream maker. We'll be back in a minute. All right, I have let that liquid, the processed liquid, the ice cream before it's frozen, cool off in the freezer for about half an hour. And I'm going to pour it now into the ice cream maker bowl. Get that in there. And get my spatula to get as much of that liquid out as possible. I don't like waste. By the way, I forgot to mention that this recipe comes from Nora Cooks. Again, she is my favorite cook or chef to follow online, and I like her recipes. So when I'm looking for something that's vegan, I almost always find a really good recipe from Nora Cooks. So kudos to her. And if you're looking at making something yourself, go ahead and check out Nora Cooks. Now, I'm putting this ice cream maker together. I need to plug it in. And I need to make sure I got that top on properly. So just give me a moment here. And I want to make sure this is on properly and locked in place. And I'm going to turn that on. Now, this is going to be churning for a while. I'm going to be churning this for about 20, 25 minutes, somewhere like that. And at the end, towards the end, if that's where you want to add something like crushed nuts or some candies, toppings or something, or raisins, whatever you want to throw into your ice cream, whatever you like, or nothing, you can do it then. And that's why they got a nice little chute there for that. So this is spinning around and churning inside that frozen bowl. It's that frozen bowl that helps maintain the temperature while it is actually turning around, mixing it. So it'll slowly freeze without crystallizing, getting that ice crystals breaking up and it forming into a solid block. It'll just be a nice creamy texture based on whatever the liquids are in there. And if it was just pure water, it wouldn't work so well. But if it's got a little bit of cream content in it, and the more cream, somewhat the better, that helps. So this is going to be sitting in there for 20 to 25 minutes. It's going to take a while. Meanwhile, I'm going to clean up. And welcome back. Well, the ice cream has been in the ice cream maker for a good 20 minutes, probably 23 minutes so far. And I'm about to turn it off and remove this, the actual machine, the motor that turns it, take out that little churning thing, and then we're going to pour it into this baking pan. I'm going to pour it in there and then set it into the freezer. We're going to cover it up with a little bit of plastic to keep the air out of it so it doesn't get crystals on it. And we'll get that out of here. Now it's a nice, beautiful texture. Okay, let me just get the... And it's obviously, it's when it's sticking right to the glass or to the bowl, it's frozen. You can feel it's frozen right on there. And this is where it's a little bit of a challenge to get this out. So let me see if I can do that. Now you can't see it that well, but it is, pretty frozen in there. And that's what you want it to be, nice and thick. And trying to get as much of that out as possible. And we're going to cover it. Let me just get the last little bit out of there. There's more left over, but I'm going to enjoy that while waiting for this to set up. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Now, I like recycling all kinds of things. Reusing a lot of things. So I'd typically reuse plastic wrap, but in this case, I want it to be a really good airtight finish. So I got a nice clean piece of plastic wrap, and I'm going to tap it down just so that there is no space between the liquid and the plastic. And the reason I do that is so I want to make sure that there is as few air bubbles as possible, because that'll just form ice crystals. We don't want that. So I'm just going to do that. Put another little wrap over top of it just to cover it up. That's in the freezer. Put that into the freezer for 4 to 5 hours. And then we'll do a taste test. I'm actually going to pull one out that I've made earlier and show you what it looks like. But, because I don't want to be sitting around for 4 or 5 hours waiting for this for the end of this session. So we'll be back in a minute. And I'm back. full disclosure, this is my previous batch, so I didn't want to wait the 4 to 5 hours to record the last portion of this. So I took this out, had to cut it out using it, just a knife, cutting it out of that baking pan. Now it is really hard, fairly hard. You can eat it, but it's really hard. So I'm going to show you what I do. Quick trick is I put it in the microwave for 10 seconds. That's it, 10 seconds, and it will soften right up. It'll soften right up, so it's just about perfect to be able to eat, and it's going to be great. So I'll give you a quick taste test in a minute. Just a second. All right, now as you can probably see, hopefully you can see, it's a little bit melted on the bottom, but it's now soft enough that you can actually, yeah, it's mostly soft enough. Just let it sit for another minute, but it gives you that, you still have that nice, beautiful ice cream flavor. There's no crystals in that. It's just nice and smooth and creamy and absolutely delicious. So yeah, this is a nice little simple thing to do at home. Just as you do need an ice cream maker. And if you have that ice cream maker, you can make whatever you want. Just enjoy it. And you can just make the regular vanilla without putting in the cocoa. There's a lot of people in my family who like chocolate ice cream, so I go with the chocolate by default. But you could just make the regular vanilla without putting the cocoa in there, and then add in some ingredients later. If you want to crush in some cookies or cookie crusts, whatever they are, they're called. So you can buy those things. You want to make a cookies and cream kind of ice cream, then that's great. Throw in some peanuts, raisins, whatever you like. It tastes delicious, easy to make. That's it. So that's it for this episode 24 of The Unorthodox Vegan. My name is Sean Gold. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at my email address up here. It's vrcompanions@gmail.com. And please follow me on my YouTube channel. That's www.youtube.com/the_unorthodox_vegan/. Until next time, my name is Sean Gold. Have yourself a great day. Bye for now.